So, in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use Guardian Soul and Soul Receptor to do a bunch of affixes. If you don't understand this video, or if you're not familiar with Guardian Soul, or if you don't know the breakdown for various other things, like how to get a grade 5 for Return or Crack, or Veteran Resolve over there in NA, or if you haven't seen my first video talk about like how to make Guardian Soul with a bunch of other abilities, look in the description for that. I will emphasize this little point that I want to talk about. You can look in the description for the time skip to get right into this video. So when it comes to this method, in my opinion, you don't want to do this. Now there are exceptions. For example, they release a new ability that is like Guardian Soul. I pray to God they don't, but if they do, then if you want to try to keep your Guardian Soul that you finalize, then you will want to use the Soul Receptor in your process, in your formula. Secondly, when it comes to you getting it for free, or maybe someone decides to give you a discount to get a Guardian Soul out of one slot, then you might want to take up that offer. And this is going to fall back onto this is going to go towards my third point, which is, if you did not finalize this Guardian Soul with all the abilities that you want, will you want to do this process? Because it depends on what you're going for, and it depends on your resource. If you want me to evaluate this a bit more or explain a bit more about that third point, say it in the comments. What I'm getting at is that if you put down a huge down payment to make a Guardian Soul, and let's say it's only at a 2 slot with like Guardian Soul and a Crack 5, and you want to try to get a Returner 5 now, do you have the resources to try to gamble to get it to a 3 slot and get the pieces that you need? Now, it might be a bit cheaper depending on how you went about it and the actual calculations that you did. But this falls on how you see it and how you want it done. This is an option, though. That's it for that third part. Once again, if you don't know what I'm trying to get at, let me know in the comments. Let's just get right into this video before I extend it any longer with that damn point. So, yes, you can transfer Guardian Soul with a Soul Receptor. It will be at a 10%, unlike almost all the other abilities. Soul Receptor is not at a 10% with Guardian Soul and Astral Soul. So, with that being said, guess what? You will want to try to make sure you keep this Guardian Soul, especially if you finalize it. And if you know how to make it to Guardian Soul, it eats up a lot of resources. It eats up 4 of the mid-game abilities. So you'll want the 4 slot protections, and you want to try to increase your chances however you see fit. So if there's a 50% boost week coming around, you want to do it on that 50% boost and use like maybe a 40, or if you have a bunch of 45s, then go ahead and use the 45s. Do what you have to do. But let's say you have a Guardian Soul that's out of 1 slot and you want to try to get a Crack 5 onto that final piece, and then you start doing the ability transfer process, and you will use a bunch of pop items. What you need to do, have a Guardian Soul at 1 slot, Soul Receptor out of 1 slot or higher, and then you want to make a bunch of Crack 4 abilities. Once you do that, you combine it all. Guardian Soul's out of 64, Crack 5's out of 73. Now once again, this ultimately falls down on your 4 slots, because if you don't have a bunch of 4 slots, then you're gambling. If you do have a bunch of 4 slots and you burn through them, like a lot of them, then that will add up and stack in terms of the cost. So if I have something like this, for example, apparently it worked out the first time, we'll give that as a count. So you didn't use up as much. So if someone gave you this for free and it took you a good, I don't know, 10, 20 mil to... I don't think it would even hit the 10 mils for 1 slot unless there's no 1 slots and you had to start buying the higher slot numbers. Note that this is on a unit as well. Then yeah, it might be below 10 mil for the total cost. And then if you had to buy the AC scratch items to try to get a 4 slot protections, I would say that's roughly around, I think it costs 10 items to get, yeah, I think it's 10 items to get a 4 slot protection. Over here in the Japanese PSO2, they're roughly around, I think it's 1,800,000, but I'm going to round that up to 2 mil, so it's like 20 mil. You might spend a good 30 mil just to get a crack 5 and a Guardian Soul. And if someone gave this for free, then that's actually a good deal. Just because like you didn't spend as much compared to someone like me who made a 4 slot with Absolute Glare, Guardian Soul, FF Factor, and crack 5 with 400 mil. But yeah, that's you getting like a crack 5. Now let's say you want to have a crack 5 and a returner 5 and then Guardian Soul. This is where it's going to get costly in terms of your 4-slot protections, and if you do have a lot of them. Because now you got this combo right here. Once again, Guardian Soul, Soul Receptor. But instead of going for the crack 5, you want to go for a crack 4 because this is not the final affix that you're aiming for. You are trying to get to a grade 5. So you will have to do this sort of thing. Get crack 3s, 3 crack 3s. You gamble on this. Or you use 4-slot and make sure that you try to get it to succeed. I used up at least 2 of these 4-slot protections to try to get this to succeed. It worked on the second, so it was like a 50%. But once I get to that point, guess what? I'm going to have to do this over here. Where I will have to make a good chunk of crack 4s, but then also a good chunk of returner 4s. One of them will need a combination of returner 4 and a crack 4. And to make that particular piece, it's going to be this panel over here, the end panel, where you have to have 3 crack 3s and 3 returner 3s. Combine them both, you will get a returner 4 and a crack 4. If you do this on a fixed week, it'll be good to do that because the margin of error is not going to be as high. There is still a chance for it to fuck you over, but as you can see, most of the times it does succeed. So you're going to get something like that, and then what you will then do is select Guardian Soul, Returner 5 and Crack 5, and you get these percentages. You want to use a 40%, 45 if you have them maybe, just to increase your chances, but it's not as much, so I'm just going to stick with the 40. I do it, and you can see that it worked the first time around, so wasn't that bad of a process. But that's how you go about getting a Guardian Soul out of 1 slot all the way up to a 3 slot. Now, let's say this one's going to be the annoying one, because this is Guardian Soul out of 1 slot all the way to a 4 slot, and you getting an Absolute Glare now as well. So, for panel 1, you would definitely want to try to at least get a crack 3 in your formula, instead of like a crack 4 instead. So it's going to be Guardian Soul, Soul Receptor, and 2 crack 3s. You do this, you will try to get Guardian Soul and crack 3 to transfer. So now you get to this screen over here, this panel over here, panel number 5. This, as you can see, fodder 1 has Guardian Soul and crack 3. Fodder, actually no, base. The base piece is Guardian Soul with crack 3. The fodder 1 piece is Soul Receptor and the junk ability. Fodder 2, you can technically have this at a 2 slot, but it's going to be a returner 3 at a 2 slot, and then fodder 3 is going to be crack 3 at a 2 slot. Fodder 4, it's going to be a combination of crack 3 and returner 3. It doesn't need to be at a 3 slot, it depends on what you have. But then you will also need to do the same for fodder 5 as well. When you have all these pieces, when you combine it together, you want to select Guardian Soul, returner 4, and a crack 4. Then we go to this panel where it's going to be a slight headache. A slight headache. It's not as bad, but the problem is one of these things are going to have a combination of both returner 4 and a crack 4. So, guess what? Base fodder has crack 4, returner 4, and Guardian Soul. Now you need to get like the grade 4s, 2 returner grade 4s and 2 crack 4s somewhere in your formula. You can't use fodder 1 because guess what? You can't manipulate a receptor as much unless it's a SAF, but we do not have unit SAFs, there's only a weapon SAF, and yeah, like this is once again for units. So I can't really do as much with that receptor. With fodder 2, what I decided to do with this one, once again, it doesn't have to be at a 4 slot, it can be at a 3 slot, is to try to get a catalyst with a returner 4. Then when it comes to fodder 3, this is you getting a catalyst with a photonic glare. Fodder 4 is the annoying one, because guess what? It is a crack 4 with a glare catalyst with a returner 4. And then fodder 5 is not as bad. You're trying to get to crack 4 with a glare catalyst. So to show you guys how annoying that fodder 4 piece is, let me copy this thing over here and let me just start adding a bunch of glares. And yeah, this is gonna be fun because you're gonna have to add a lot of glares here and there. And once again, this is a grade 4 you're aiming for, so you have to get grade 3s. So you're gonna need an Anga, you're gonna need a Vlog, you're gonna need a for DOS, no glare, and then Execore, and then I'm gonna right click this, fill with trash. And yeah, then you will need to try to get a glare catalyst with a crack 4 and a returner 4, and you can see that the percentage isn't that great. I would say try to use a 45 and try to gamble with this. But yeah, this is how you do it. And then that was like, look, this panel, that's how you get, no, wrong panel, this panel over here. That's how you get this unit piece. But yeah, once you do that, guess what? Now you can make your Guardian Soul, a Returner 5, a Crack 5, and an Absolute Glare. But now, guess what? You need to use more Force Stop protections. And apparently on that first go, it worked, so we'll give that a count. So if this was an actual affixing video in-game, and I was doing this sort of approach, I didn't lose a huge profit in doing so. But the question is, how do you get that Guardian Soul in the first place? Are you going to buy it? Are you going to get gifted? Or are you going to make it? But it's a lot of you toying around with stuff, and it depends on the market price and all that. So let's say someone decided to gift you a high Guardian Soul instead, like nothing that's in the 4th slot. This is going to become a problem, because the question is, do you have anything that's a protection at a 5, 6, or 7? You can get these 5, 6, and 7 protections, it's just that it's not going to be easy for those who are free to play, or those who could try to get it without paying ACs. You get these 5 slot, 6 slot, 7 slot protections by doing a bunch of scratches, and it's from the pity system / frequency bonus list. I call it a pity system because that is what it is, and especially from like various gacha games that I played. But yeah, like if you got those protections, then you can manipulate the high Guardian Soul, and yeah, you will have to get a high Soul Receptor and stuff. In this formula, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Let me swap that to a mark instead. There's a lot of stuff going on in this formula. Pretty much these first two are stuck as it is, but instead of just having a 6 slot Soul Receptor, this one's actually a 6 slot Soul Receptor and a Factor Receptor. That is expensive right off the bat. The last time I stared at the 6 slot Soul Receptor, Factor Receptor, I think it was in the 9 digits. I can't remember if it was like 100 mil or higher. Yeah, they can go high. They can go high. So yeah, then you got these pieces as well. They're going to have a bunch of crack and returners on them. It's a lot of manipulation. I'm not going to go into a lot of details for it. But yeah, you could try to do this right here, where you deal with all these damn things. Now, I do need to get rid of the junk, because that is a junk ability. But as you can see, yeah, even with a pop item and you do it the normal way, it does get affected. It's just that I have a bunch of boosters on. And yeah, you're dealing with this thing here. Like, you can get all 6 of these abilities without going through the ability transfer process, saving up on your passives and your pop items. But yeah, this is a pain in the butt. So yeah. They might add easier ways to transfer some stuff, like especially if you got like a mana rev on there. They might have a Reverie Receptor later. But yeah, these are some of the things that you had to deal with when it comes to you working with a Soul Receptor and a Guardian Soul. But once again, the question is, ultimately, how do you get this Guardian Soul, and what does this Guardian Soul come with? Because if it's just by itself, then if you want to add some other abilities, then you're going to have to do this process here. But then the one other big thing that I will keep on emphasizing on is the 4 slot protections, because they will stack against you. Like, the reason why my final fix for what I did for my Guardian Soul at a 4 slot cost so much was because of those 4 slots. Because I had to buy a bunch of 4 slots. Now, I kind of did it in a very bad manner, and I did do a slip up in my formula, which increased that cost even further. But I got my final fix. I'm not going to bitch about it as much, because I spent like 300 mil on one of my fix pieces in the past, and that was like roughly around a year ago. So even though it's a year ago and I spent like 300 mil on that piece, guess what? If I played a game, if I know how to do markets and sell more fixes, I can easily get that back in like 1 to 2 months. So it's not as bad. And the same can be said with this unit piece that I spent 400 mil with. Like, yes, I spent 400 mil on it, but I got a lot of items in my storage that I already invest in, and it's giving back a lot more in terms of value. If I sell something, like, it could be already into fucking 500 mils. So it's not gonna hurt me as much. Like, yes, I can spend a lot, but at the same time, I can make a lot too. Ultimately, this is on you, on how you want to go about it. This is a way, a function, a bunch of other formulas that can help you do what you need to do. Falls down on you. So if you got any question, comment, concerns, put it down below. That's it for this video. I'm kind of tired of seeing Guardian Soul and looking at all these damn formulas and making this shit. Let me know if you plan to make Guardian Soul. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.